Hello, thanks for tuning in. Today, we're gonna make some massive progress. So I've been wondering how I'm going to line up all of these different panels and pieces. Originally, I was thinking to use just the spot welds from each panel just to like line up everything. But now I'm thinking like once I cut out the trans tunnel, the car is gonna shift wherever it wants. So I need to like secure the car and brace it. But I don't want to brace the car as it is now because I'm not too confident that this is straight. And what I've come up with is to make a huge jig, basically. So like something that you can just bolt a chassis to and all the main components will bolt up to this jig. That way I can put my car on the jig and know for sure that it's going to be the correct measurement. So in order to do this, I'm going to need to find a straight S13 shell, preferably rust-free, that I can make all of these measurements on and make the jig on. So with that being said, that's going to be my next step in this project. Alright, so we just got to Omar's house. And for those of you that have seen some of my previous videos, you know he is the S-chassis parts plug. This is his car. And Omar helps me out once again by saying I can use one of his spare shells. It's going to be on this car right here. This car is looking like a barn find right now. But Omar's working on a couple other things right now, so it's a little dusty. That's all right. First thing I'm gonna do is start with clearing out some of the space here, and then I'm gonna drop all of the suspension in the front and in the rear. Luckily, this car is already a shell, so I don't have to worry about pulling a motor or anything like that. Oh, that looks so much better. It's a floating 240. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's just a 240 in its natural habitat on jack stands. And I always love appreciating a good rust-free chassis. This car is so clean. And while we're here, I wanted to mention subframe bushings on these cars. Look at how this subframe bushing is kind of like torn in there. You can't really tell visually, but watch when I lower the jack from the subframe, and you'll see the subframe itself start to sag off of the chassis. I can't wait to show you guys how much I crammed in this Integra today. I got all my tools, jack, some metal. I have an S13 subframe, which, fun fact, this is the original subframe off of my 240 from the factory. My argon gas. I have my welder. I have some nuts and bolts assorted. This is my Integra work truck. Somehow I was able to fit all of this in the Integra. You just gotta play a lot of Tetris and then you can make stuff work out. Yeah, these are toast. It's not even connected. All right, that looks pretty good. So let's work on getting the front subframe off now. So now the shell has no subframes, no cross member. It's just a bare shell at this point. Now what I need to do is get this front subframe detached from all of this. Whew, finally got the subframe out of there. Now I'm gonna need a trans cross member. Where am I gonna find one of those? Oh, that's pretty cool. I like when that happens. Speaking of likes, you guys should like this video if you like it. And don't forget to leave a comment. I love trying to get back to all you guys and getting to know you. The trifecta. All right, now I'm gonna mount these on the car. Next, I'm gonna grab the front subframe. All right, we got the front subframe in. Now let's put the trans cross member in. We got both subframes installed, and we also have the trans cross member on. Now we need to connect all three together. So in order to weld all this in place, I need to grind off all of this grease and paint. That way I can get a nice good weld on there. Now before you start welding, you really want to make sure you unplug the battery. Oh wait. All right, we got it tacked in position. I'm gonna do one last final look over, and then we'll get it fully welded in. Also, before I forget, I need to bring the fire extinguisher in here. It's very important. All right. I say it looks good. I'm gonna start welding that one in all the way, and then I'll also weld in the other side too while I'm under there. Alright, we got the first two bars welded in there. Now for connecting the trans cross member to the front subframe, I was thinking about trying to put one of the beams alongside a previous beam. That way it can hold its shape a little better. So for the beam that's on top of the cross member here, I'm going to continue the next beam across the top to the top of the subframe. And another thing I want to do is put a beam across the bottom here, maybe from this point, which is like, it's not like a jack point, but I guess technically it can be a jack point, but maybe from this hole to the other side. That way, when I'm lining up the whole half of the car to be welded onto mine, I'll be able to just line up, you know, where that distance is supposed to be. That works out pretty nice. I'm gonna just attach this angle iron right here to the cross beams that we have already made. And it also doubles because now it can sit flush with the frame rail on both sides. That'll make it a lot easier to make sure that the frame rails are level when I'm installing everything. So alright, I'll get this welded up. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Man, I'm so excited to try this out and line up all the pieces on my car now. I feel like assembly is going to be much easier. Well, now that all the bracing is welded together, I think what I'm going to do now is start reinforcing it so that when I'm transporting it, it's not flexing too much or maybe it'll get bent out of shape. So yeah, just going to add a couple more beams here and there just to make it a little more sturdy. But that's looking pretty wild. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So what I'm going to do now is take it off. I'm really hoping it holds its shape. I used some really thick metal, so I think it'll be all right. Before I pull this jig off, I really want to make sure I take detailed pictures of how the jig is sitting in here now. For example, how this beam is like centered onto the jack point. I had it so you can still see the hole. That way, if I needed to, I can weld a stud on there and like really force it to be centered in there. Also, how the frame rails, I put a little line here and a little line here. I might make that bigger so I can see it easier, but that's just how the frame rail is going to sit there. Same with this side. So I haven't put any jacks on the front or rear subframes yet. And I took all the bolts out of the trans cross member. And I can literally pull down with all of my weight and this thing doesn't even budge. So that's a really good sign. This is so exciting to see this thing done. Whew, now we just need to figure out how to get it to Stevie's house. It's a car! Alright. Definitely was not going to fit that in the Integra. Man, I cannot wait to install this jig. Really looking forward to this. Hopefully we don't run into too many issues along the way, but we'll work past them. So we just got to Chris's house. He's an old friend from high school. He said he put his wheels on and then his fuel pump stopped working. So I stopped by to help figure that out. So hopefully it's something simple. So random.